You were not born to depend on chemicals for vitality. You were not fashioned from cosmic intelligence only to wither beneath prescriptions and diagnoses. You were not meant to hand over your temple to fear. You, beloved child of the infinite, were born vibrating with divine intelligence, crafted from God's own light, and pulsing with the sacred rhythm of spirit. Your body is not a machine, it is a shrine, a living altar of consciousness, and every cell within it holds the original blueprint of divine wholeness. The healing you seek has never left you. It lives within your very breath. It speaks in silence. It waits in stillness. It shines through the spine like a river of light long forgotten, but never extinguished. This modern age has taught you to fear your body, to distrust its wisdom, to silence its signals, and to hand over its care to outer authorities who treat symptoms but forget the soul. But I say unto you now, the greatest healer lives within you, and that healer is the divine vibration of spirit flowing through every atom of your being. You were not born broken, you became misaligned. You were not born ill, you became disharmonized. But harmony is not lost, it is only hidden beneath restlessness, noise, and spiritual forgetfulness. Your body is not asking for more medicine, it is asking for more remembrance. It is asking you to return to the sacred laws through which it was first created, the laws of vibration, breath, stillness, light, and divine joy. When you obey these laws, healing flows not as miracle, but as natural law fulfilled. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a song to be retuned. Pause now. Breathe deeply, not from habit, but from holiness. Inhale slowly through the nose. Feel the breath descend to the base of the spine. Exhale gently. Whisper inwardly, if God created this body, would He not also place within it the power to heal? Say it again and again, until the fear dissolves and the flame of knowing begins to flicker at the edge of your awareness. You are not weak. You are misdirected. You are not diseased. You are disconnected. And through these 7 sacred laws of vibrational health, I will lead you back to the divine order you never truly lost. True healing does not begin in the laboratory, nor does it reside in the cabinet of pills or the mechanical knowledge of the body's parts. It begins in consciousness. It begins in the vibratory law that governs all matter, all cells, all movement, and all stillness. For your body is not merely substance. It is sustained by the subtle whisper of spirit, animated by the divine thought behind the atoms, and energized by the invisible current of God's will that flows like a sacred river through the spine, through the breath, through every field of pranic life. And when that vibration falls out of harmony, when the consciousness dips into fear or doubt or restlessness or material attachment, the body, which is only an echo of the inner state, begins to falter, not because it is broken, but because it is reflecting the static that has overtaken the soul's silent frequency. I have told you before, environment is stronger than heredity. But today I go deeper and say the inner environment is the strongest of all. For even a perfect diet, a peaceful room, a medicine prescribed with wisdom, will falter in effectiveness if the mind resists harmony, if the heart denies joy, if the soul forgets its source. All sickness begins as vibration first, as anxiety, as emotional congestion, as dissonance between soul truth and daily thought, and by the time it appears in the body, it has already grown roots in the subtle layers of being. The wise healer does not chase symptoms, he listens to signals. He does not diagnose in fear, but in vibration. And the master yogi knows that to shift the inner frequency is to shift the outer form. Imagine your aura as a magnetic shield of divine memoria, field of energy that surrounds and interpenetrates your body, recording every thought, every belief, every fear, every affirmation. And just as iron shavings align to the pull of a magnet, so do your organs, your glands, your nerves, your very immune system align to the vibration of your consciousness. If that vibration is steeped in divine remembrance, in meditative stillness, in soul-anchored truth, the body responds as a flower to sunlight. But if that vibration is fractured by worry, poisoned by resentment, or dimmed by doubt, then the systems of healing close like petals in the night, waiting not for a drug, but for the light of consciousness to return. Do not misunderstand me, dear one. Medicines have their place. Just as a cane may help one who is learning to walk again, but the cane is not the healer, the pill is not the cause of vitality. It is the vibratory obedience to the laws of spirit that sustains health, and without that obedience, no remedy endures. You may numb pain, but you cannot erase misalignment unless the soul reclaims its throne. Breathe with me now, not mechanically, but with spiritual clarity. Inhale slowly through the nostrils. Let the breath expand your inner space. Hold it gently at the heart center, and then exhale through the mouth like a wave returning to the ocean. Whisper silently within, I vibrate with divine life. Again, inhale deeply, and this time, as you exhale, say, I release all fear. Once more, I vibrate with divine life. I release all fear. Say it until the body begins to listen, until the cells begin to hum, until the shadows begin to lift from the edges of your aura, and the light of your soul begins to flow once more. Now we begin the sacred descent into the 7 laws, not as intellectual ideas, but as vibrational doorways. Do not walk through them with curiosity. Enter them with reverence. For each is not a concept, but a commandment of divine order inscribed into the very fabric of your being. The first law is the oldest law, the primal law, the law that preceded the heartbeat, the law that sang before the organs formed, the law that echoes before any physician's voice or diagnosis, the law of stillness. For before healing can enter the body, stillness must enter the mind. And before light can rise through the spine, noise must fall away from the consciousness. And before spirit can flood the temple of flesh with restoring harmony, the soul must first choose to be still and know not just the absence of motion, but the sacred presence that emerges only in silence, only in inward pause, only in the quietude that is not empty, but brimming with God. You see, most people wait for stillness to happen. They believe it must arrive like a mood or descend like weather. But stillness is not circumstantial, it is intentional. It is an altar you choose to build within, each morning and each night, each moment when the breath slows and the eyes close and the attention withdraws from the sensory world like a priest stepping into the inner sanctum. It is in this sacred withdrawal that the nervous system resets, that the cells receive their first signal of safety, that the divine blueprint locked within every tissue begins to glow again, not because of anything added to the body, but because something has been subtracted: noise, haste, opinion, comparison, panic, self-talk, the endless mental spinning that exhausts the vital energy long before any illness sets in. You may think healing begins with rest, but rest without stillness is merely inactivity. True restoration flows from deep internal receptivity, and stillness is the posture of the soul that trusts God more than effort, that trusts presence more than prescription, that says, I do not need to fix myself in this moment, I need only return. And when you return, you remember, the body is not broken, it is burdened. The mind is not diseased, it is disturbed. The soul is not sick, it is silenced, and stillness is the lifting of that burden, the calming of that disturbance, the unsilencing of that inner voice. I tell you now, as one who has entered the cave of inner silence and felt the divine current sweep through the body like a cleansing fire, if you would practice only one thing in your path to vibrational healing, let it be morning stillness. Let it be that sacred moment when you sit before the world begins, when the sunlight has not yet entered your room, when the birds are still rehearsing their song, and you alone with the breath of God sit upright, spine straight, attention anchored at the point between the eyebrows, and you breathe not to oxygenate, but to remember, not to relax, but to return. Begin tomorrow with just 3 minutes. Sit in silence. Do not seek visions. Do not demand results. Simply withdraw. Close the eyes. Inhale slowly through the nose, counting 6. Hold for 6. Exhale for 6. Pause for 6. Repeat. Repeat. Let the body descend. Let the mind fall quiet. Let the soul begin to rise. And in that silence, speak only this inside. In stillness, I return to wholeness. Again, in stillness, I return to wholeness. Do not say it to believe it. Say it because it is already true, and your body has been waiting for you to remember. When stillness becomes your first act of the day, healing begins before breakfast. Illness begins to unwind its grip. The immune system, that loyal servant of harmony, begins to rise. Inflammation softens, the heart steadies, the breath deepens, the mind clears. Not because of a miracle, but because of a law, the law of stillness honored at last. The breath is not merely a physiological function. It is the first language of God moving within you, the silent syllable of the infinite echoing through your nostrils, entering the temple of your lungs, caressing the altar of your spine, and flowing like a golden river between the shores of body and soul. And when the breath is shallow, scattered, restless, or unconscious, your life becomes shallow, scattered, restless, and unconscious. For as the breath is, so the mind becomes, and as the mind is, so the body obeys. And thus I tell you, if you would remember how to heal, you must first remember how to breathe, not as the body breathes in fear or habit, but as the yogi breathes in reverence and rhythm, matching the pulse of spirit itself. You see, long before disease ever visits the organs, it visits the breath. It disrupts its rhythm, it shortens its path, it speeds its tempo, and in doing so, it agitates the heart, excites the nervous system, robs the cells of their pranic nourishment, and shatters the invisible equilibrium upon which true health depends. And yet the world continues to speak of medicine and surgery and diet without once asking, how do you breathe when no one is watching? What is the vibration behind the breath you carry into your sleep, your stress, your silence? The saints of India taught that the breath is the horse, and the soul is the rider. And unless the rider learns to rein in the horse, to direct it, to still it, the chariot of life will be pulled in 1,000 directions, all of them away from the center. The yogi, on the other hand, rides the breath, inwards lows it, disciplines it, spiritualizes it until the breath itself becomes a prayer, until the very act of inhaling becomes an offering, and the act of exhaling becomes a release, a surrender, a returning to source. Now let me teach you not as a technique, but as a remembering the rhythm of divine breath. Sit quietly now, close the eyes, straighten the spine, place the tongue gently to the roof of the mouth. Breathe in through the nose for 6 slow counts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold that breath not with strain but with reverent stillness. 6 counts. Now exhale softly through the nose. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause, empty, for 6 more counts, and begin again. This is not just a rhythm, it is a return. This is not breath control, it is soul communion. This is the rhythm of healing. As you breathe this way, visualize the breath not as air, but as light, a golden stream rising from the base of the spine up through each chakra, purifying, awakening, harmonizing the astral centers, bringing order where there was disorder, bringing coherence where there was confusion, bringing divine memory where there was fear. Let that light spiral upward as you inhale. Let it rest at the Christ center as you hold. Let it descend in radiant silence as you exhale, and let it settle in still joy as you pause. And within each cycle of this breath, repeat inwardly this affirmation. With every breath, I remember. Again, with every breath, I remember. Not as poetry, but as physics. Not as hope, but as law. You were not born to breathe unconsciously. You were born to use the breath as a bridge between form and formlessness, between matter and spirit, between the seen and the unseen. And when the breath flows in divine rhythm, the entire body orchestra begins to retune itself. The immune system begins to sing in harmony. The organs begin to move with serenity. And the soul begins to whisper again its forgotten song of joy. This is the second law. And like all divine laws, it is not a restriction, it is a rhythm. Align with it, and you do not heal, you remember that you were never separate from healing to begin with. There is a deeper truth, long forgotten in the rush of modern appetite, and it is this, that food is not merely substance, but condensed sunlight. It is not mere matter to be weighed in calories or charted by proteins and fats, but is vibrational light, captured by plants, transmuted by soil, filtered through air, and offered as an act of cosmic generosity to your temple body, not to indulge emotion, not to feed compulsion, not to anesthetize the pain of disconnection, but to serve as radiant fuel for your soul's earthly instrument, to keep the light glowing in the chamber of flesh, so that you, divine traveler, may walk this human journey with grace, vitality, and remembrance. And yet, how unconsciously we eat, how blindly we consume, rushing through meals with eyes on screens, chewing while angry, swallowing while anxious, never once pausing to realize that every bite carries not only nutrients but vibration of the one who harvested it, of the earth where it grew, of the thought in your mind as you receive it, and that when you eat without reverence, you do not simply feed the body, you cloud the aura, you dim the fire, you draw shadows into the light. I have watched as men poison themselves with righteous diets but bitter thoughts, as women grew ill not from what they ate but from how they consumed, hurried, distracted, ungrateful, and spiritually dislocated. Do not make the mistake of believing food is neutral. Every fruit, every grain, every drop of water holds a subtle memory of sun, of soil, of prayer, or of pain. And your task is not to obsess over labels but to bless what you receive, to lift it from matter into spirit through the power of consciousness, to see your plate not as utility but as offering, to approach the act of eating as a priest approaches the altar, not with indulgence, not with guilt, but with holy awareness that says, this body is the temple, this food is the light, this moment is the prayer. Yogic science tells us that live foods, those unspoiled by industrial manipulation, unburdened by chemicals, and untouched by cruelty, carry higher pranic charge, and when taken into a body tuned through breath and stillness, they do not just nourish, they awaken. They do not just sustain, they purify. But it is not only what you eat, dear one, it is how you eat. I would rather you eat simple grains in peace than gourmet meals in anger. I would rather you fast in joy than feast in haste. For food cannot bless you until you learn to bless it. So let this become your new ritual. Before you eat, stop. Close your eyes. Place both hands over your heart. Inhale slowly and say inwardly, this food is light, I receive it with love. Then gaze gently at the plate before you, not to judge, but to honor. Feel the sun that grew it. Feel the earth that held it. Feel the divine intelligence that called it from seed into fruit. And when you take your first bite, chew slowly. Be with it. Let the taste become meditation. Let digestion become prayer. Let nourishment become soul alchemy. And above all, do not eat when angry. Do not eat when rushed. Do not eat while scrolling the world's noise into your nervous system. For in such states, even the purest food becomes misaligned within you. Instead, if your energy is low and your emotions are heavy, take 3 breaths first. Return to the inner altar, and only then receive. The stomach is not just an organ, it is a sacred cauldron in which spirit and matter meet. It can digest only what the heart has welcomed, what the mind has accepted, what the soul has blessed. And when you eat in this light, you do not gain calories, you gain clarity. You do not store fat, you store radiance. You do not numb the body, you nourish the divine within it. This is the third sacred law, that nourishment is not physical, it is vibrational. And your greatest supplement is sacred awareness. The body may fall ill through accident, through imbalance, through the natural fraying of time's cloth, but more often and more deeply, the body falls ill through emotion, through the weight of what has been carried too long in silence, through the heat of anger unspoken, through the cold of grief unwept, through the tension of old fear buried deep in the tissues where the conscious mind no longer looks. But the subconscious continues to echo, whispering through the nervous system, clouding the blood, tightening the breath, clogging the lymph, and darkening the radiant glow that was once the natural state of your living temple. And so I tell you now, as clearly and as lovingly as I can, to be whole, you must be clean not merely of toxins, but of suppressed sorrow, of resentment disguised as strength, of guilt worn as identity, of disappointment stored in the muscles like winter trapped inside the bones. You see, disease is often crystallized emotion, hardened over time by repeated thinking, by spiritual neglect, by the absence of release and forgiveness. The body is not separate from the heart. The liver does not forget what the mind denies. The stomach digests not only food, but feelings. The skin carries memory, the throat carries silence. And the heart, it carries the weight of all that has not been forgiven. This is why emotional purification is not a luxury, not a side practice, not an optional self-care suggestion. It is a sacred law, a necessary commandment for those who wish not only to live, but to live vibrantly, truthfully, freely, in alignment with their highest nature. Scripture tells us, As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I add to you now, as a man weepeth not, so does he sicken. For it is not weakness to feel. It is spiritual negligence to suppress. God gave you the ability to feel, not to torment you, but to guide you, to move you, to cleanse you. Emotion is energy in motion. And when it is allowed to move with reverence, with breath, with witness, it purifies the inner sky and opens the body to higher currents of healing. But when it is trapped by shame, by pride, by fear of vulnerability, it stagnates, it condenses, and eventually it manifests not as tears, but as tension, not as insight, but as inflammation, not as healing, but as chronic condition. Let me give you a practice, simple, sacred, and profoundly cleansing. Each evening before sleep, sit in silence. Bring to mind the face of anyone who has disturbed your peace today or long ago. Place your right hand on your heart. Breathe in slowly, and as you exhale, whisper within, I bless and release. Again, I bless and release. Not because they were right, not because you condone harm, but because you choose to be free. Free of the burden, free of the memory, free of the vibrational toll. You are not forgiving for their sake. You are forgiving for the health of your soul, for the clarity of your aura, for the vitality of your cells. And if grief arises, sweep, do not fear the tears. Each tear is a baptism. Each sob is a letting go. Each moment of trembling is the body's way of reorganizing its energy, rebalancing its field, repairing the unseen. And if anger arises, do not shout, do not wound, but breathe it into awareness. Let it rise like fire. Let it burn the illusion. Let it purify you. For beneath every wound is light, waiting to be reclaimed. Understand this, dear one. Joy cannot sit where bitterness lives. Peace cannot dwell in a heart full of battle. Healing cannot enter a house crowded with ghosts. You must clear the space. You must exhale the past. You must let the heart unclench, the jaw soften, the chest open again like a sun-drenched sky after the rain. This is the fourth law. Emotional purity is vibrational health. Your body listens to everything you have not said. Let it hear only the truth. Let it hear only the forgiveness. Let it hear only the rhythm of release. The spine, O divine traveler, is not merely a column of bones nor a biological scaffold that keeps your body upright. It is the sacred highway of the infinite, the throne of consciousness, the altar upon which spirit lights the lamps of vitality, wisdom, willpower, joy, and intuitive knowing. It is the path through which God ascends within you, the invisible ladder that Jacob saw in vision, where angels ascend and descend between earth and heaven. For your spine is not anatomy alone, it is the living temple of light through which all healing flows. And if you neglect this temple, if you bow your back in despair, if you collapse the chest and compress the lungs, and slump your attention downward into the sensory world, then the current that heals, the current that harmonizes, the current that awakens becomes blocked, tangled, reversed, and the light that should rise remains trapped at the base of your being, heavy with inertia, dulled by habit, unable to remember its divine direction. I have told my disciples again and again, and now I tell you with loving urgency, the spine is the altar of healing. When you sit with a straight spine, you are not merely practicing posture, you are proclaiming a truth to your cells, to your chakras, to your soul itself. You are saying, I am ready to receive. You are saying, let the current flow. You are saying, let spirit rise through me. And when the breath moves upward, and the gaze steadies at the Christ center between the brows, and the heart rests in stillness, while the spine becomes like a golden pillar of divine electricity, then and only then does the healing light circulate freely, clearing blockages, nourishing tissues, recalibrating organs, and most importantly, awakening your memory of who and what you truly are. You may ask, what must I do? Begin each morning not with rush, not with phone, not with food, but with reverence. Sit in silence. Let your spine rise as if God Himself were drawing you upward with golden thread. Let your shoulders relax, let your jaw soften, let your breath find its sacred rhythm. And then visualize a golden light at the base of the spine, warm, coiled, luminous. With each inhale, see that light begin to rise up through the sacral center, through the fire of the navel, through the stillness of the heart, through the resonance of the throat, through the intuition of the spiritual eye. And with each exhale, see that light gently anchor in your entire being, leaving a trace of harmony behind. This is not fantasy. This is not imagination. This is the ancient yogic science of healing through awareness, through intention, through divine magnetism reawakened. Say inwardly now, my spine is the ladder of healing. Again, my spine is the ladder of healing. Say it until you feel the current shift. Say it until the warmth begins to spread. Say it until the outer world vanishes and only the inner sanctuary remains. And understand this, no medicine, no herb, no external therapy can replace what the spine, when purified, awakened, and honored, will do for your health. For it is the origin of your vitality, the conductor of your consciousness, the sacred thread upon which the body, mind, and soul are strung like pearls in a necklace of light. Treat it as such. Sit straight not for appearance, but for reverence. Walk upright not for pride, but for alignment. Live from the spine, not from the surface. This is the fifth sacred law, that your spine is not simply part of the body, it is the center of your being, the altar of ascension, the golden pathway through which healing descends and remembrance rises. Every word you speak is not merely sound, it is vibration made visible, thought made flesh, soul made audible, a wave that enters not only the air around you but the cells within you, the molecules of your being, the architecture of your health. And whether you whisper a truth or mumble a complaint, whether you chant the name of God or repeat the name of your fear, the body listens, the aura listens, the universe listens, and the listening shapes the form. For sound is not just an effect, it is a cause, a root, a force of creation, echoing the same primal truth spoken in the first chapter of creation. And God said, "For in the beginning was not medicine, nor theory, nor philosophy, but word vibration, sacred, divine, powerful enough to split silence into galaxies, to call light from darkness, to summon spirit into matter. And I tell you now, that same power is within you, latent in your voice, hidden in your breath, waiting to be awakened by purity of speech, by sacred chant, by vibratory discipline that transforms not only your health, but your destiny." You see, when you complain, your words poison the temple. When you gossip, you fracture the magnetic shield of your aura. When you curse, even in jest, you direct negative force toward your own nervous system, and the cells, humble and obedient servants that they are, begin to echo that dissonance, growing confused, fatigued, inflamed not by fate, not by food, not by flaw, but by frequency. For the tongue, uncontrolled and unconscious, is one of the most dangerous instruments in the world, capable of calling forth disease or calling forth divinity, depending on the mind behind it, depending on the memory it carries, depending on the spirit from which it speaks. Now let me offer you a different path, the yogic path, the divine path of vibratory word. Each morning, before you speak to the world, speak to your soul. Place your right hand over your heart. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. And chant aloud or inwardly the sacred syllable, Om. Again, Om. Again, Om. Letting it rise from the heart like a golden flame, letting it resound through the inner sky of your being, letting it shake loose the shadows, clear the cobwebs of restless thought, harmonize the waters of the nervous system, and tune your body like a divine instrument to the frequency of truth. This chant is not poetic, it is cosmic science. It is the vibratory signature of the infinite, the seed sound from which all matter arises. And when you attune yourself to it, you begin to vibrate with the memory of health, with the pulse of spirit, with the divine intention that made you not to suffer, but to shine. And beyond chanting, discipline your speech throughout the day. Speak slowly, speak kindly, speak only what uplifts or instructs. And when anger tempts the tongue, breathe instead. When fear urges you to declare disease over your body, pause and declare healing instead. When pain wishes to tell the world how broken you feel, let your higher self speak of how you are returning, remembering, rising. Say not, I am sick. Say, I am healing. Say not, I am tired. Say, I am restoring. Say not, I am weak. Say, I am remembering strength. For what you say, you become. What you declare, you empower. What you repeat, you entrain into the body's rhythm. This is the sixth law. Your voice is not just an expression, it is a transmitter. Use it wisely. Use it reverently. Use it to chant yourself back into the frequency of wholeness. There is a force more powerful than any tonic, more radiant than any vitamin, more protective than any medicine on earth, a force invisible to the microscope, undetectable by the physician's instruments, yet known instinctively by every child, every saint, every healed soul who has ever walked this earth without fear in their heart. And that force, beloved one, is joy. Not the fleeting amusement of a joke, nor the shallow thrill of entertainment, nor the distracted pleasure of a momentary comfort, but the deep, sustained, undisturbed flame of divine joy that arises not from what happens to you, but from what flows through you, from your alignment with God, from your remembering that the soul is not here to survive, it is here to shine. Joy, true joy, is not emotional, it is vibrational. It is the frequency of divine harmony vibrating through your cells. It is the resonance of the infinite remembered in the breath, in the posture, in the smile. And just as negativity constricts the aura, just as worry frays the magnetic field, just as sorrow suppresses immune response, so does joy expand the aura, shield the body from subtle harm, and restore the electrical wholeness of the nervous system. Joy is not an accessory to health, it is its guardian. It is the immune system of the soul. Do you not see? The saints did not heal through science alone, they healed through presence. They carried joy like a cloak of light, and wherever they walked, healing followed not because of technique, but because of frequency. They smiled from the soul, not to pretend, but to radiate truth. And when they sang, when they laughed, when they gazed at you with still eyes, they transferred joy as medicine, and the body responded not because it understood, but because it remembered. Now I tell you what I told my disciples. Smile, even when the body aches. Smile, not as denial, but as devotion. Sing, not to entertain the mind, but to cleanse it. Begin each day with a smile, not because you feel like it, but because your soul does. That smile is not cosmetic, it is magnetic. Let your lips turn upward even when the world seems heavy. Let your eyes soften even when the news is harsh. Let your chest open to laughter, to music, to divine chanting, even when life gives you no reason, because joy is not a reaction. It is a stance. It is a choice. It is a vibration you choose to carry as your sacred protection against the darkness of the age. And let it be known, laughter is medicine when it comes from the soul. Devotional singing is medicine when it rises from love. The joy that arises in meditation, in stillness, in communion with the divine, that joy not only heals the heart, it rewires the brain, rebalances the hormones, regulates the immune system, and restores the electromagnetic integrity of the body temple. So practice joy, not just when things go well, but especially when they don't. Choose joy when fear rises. Choose joy when sadness tempts. Choose joy when fatigue whispers that you are alone. For in those moments, joy is not escapist. It is your weapon. It is your shield. It is the proof that you are still anchored in God, still awake to the truth, still vibrating with the remembrance that your health is not made of matter, it is made of light. Say it with me now. My joy is my health. My joy is my prayer. My joy is my protection. Say it again and again. Let the vibrations settle into the bones. Let it echo in the blood. Let it soften the muscles and brighten the skin and steady the heart. This is the seventh and final sacred law. That joy is not only your reward, it is your defense, your medicine, your natural state when all that is false has fallen away. Now, beloved soul, having journeyed with me through these 7 sacred laws, through stillness and breath, through light and food, through forgiveness and posture, through word and vibration and joy, I ask you not to merely remember what I have said, but to become what I have spoken to. Take these teachings not as outer knowledge, but as inner commandment, not as hopeful advice, but as the very structure of your return, your reawakening, your holy reclamation of the truth that you are not a fragile creature caught in the chaos of a diseased world, but a radiant flame of God moving through form, a sacred instrument of spirit wrapped in bones and breath and blood, capable of more restoration, more regeneration, more radiance than any textbook has dared to promise and any prescription has dared to imagine. For you are not meant to depend, you are meant to remember. You were not designed for sickness, though it may visit. You were not destined for weakness, though it may arise. You were not created to decay while your soul still shines. You were made as a healing presence. Your body was not a prison, but a temple. Your breath was not a background function, but a divine messenger. Your words were not noise, but spells. Your spine was not a structure, it was a staircase for God. Your joy was not a side effect, it was the vibration of immunity. You are the healer you have sought. You are the vibration you have longed for. You are the light your own cells have been praying you would remember. Now breathe with me slowly, reverently, with spine straight, with eyes closed, with awareness held at the point between the eyebrows. Inhale for 4, for 5, for 6 counts. Hold, and let that breath rise like golden light from the base of the spine to the throne of the soul. Hold, and now exhale, not just air, but fear. Exhale limitation. Exhale doubt. Let the body become breath. Let the breath become light. Let the light become God. Again, inhale, hold, exhale, and feel it. You are not what the world has made you to believe. You are what God remembers you to be. Say it now, not with your mouth, but with your entire being. I am not this illness. I am divine vibration. I am God's healing presence on earth. Again, I am not this illness. I am divine vibration. I am God's healing presence on earth. Let these words imprint themselves, not only in your memory, but in your cells. Let them rewire your posture, your choices, your breathing, your eating, your forgiveness, your speech, your rest, your joy. Let them be the new baseline, the new covenant between you and your temple, between you and your source. Do not say them just today. Say them each dawn, each dusk, each time the old fear rises, each time the body forgets. Say them when you lie in bed at night. Say them when you rise. Say them when the doctor frowns. Say them when you feel weak. Say them until the universe has no choice but to echo back what you have spoken. Now take this moment to declare it before heaven and earth, before your angels and your ancestors, before your subconscious mind and the Great Spirit who fashioned your form. I now walk the 7 laws of sacred health. Write it, speak it, live it. May your body become light. May your breath become prayer. May your words become medicine. May your joy become shield. May your spine become altar. May your heart become sky. May your soul become the doctor. And may every cell in your body hear once again the original tone of Eden, the sacred Om of wholeness, the music of God rising through the temple of you. Close your eyes now, dear one. Gaze gently at the point between the eyebrows. Whisper inwardly, be still, be whole, be light. And let that be the final medicine. My beloved ones, so many of you gaze tenderly upon your children and imagine that you have given them only the gift of life, that they have come into this world as blank slates upon which you will write their destiny through love, education, and nurturing. But there is a deeper truth, seldom spoken yet woven into the laws of divine justice. Your child carries more than your name, more than your features, more than your mannerisms. The soul of your child is not an isolated spark, it has been magnetically drawn into your orbit by the unseen force of karma, the vibrational law that binds souls through shared actions, desires, and lessons stretching across lifetimes. When a child is born to you, it is not mere biology at work, nor coincidence. It is the invisible hand of God placing into your arms a being whose karmic thread is intertwined with yours, whose destiny cannot be fully separated from the patterns of energy you have created through thoughts, deeds, and spiritual efforts, both past and present. You may wonder why certain traits, even certain struggles, seem to arise in your child without explanation, why old wounds in your own life seem to echo in the life of the young one you cradle. The materialistic world will tell you it is genetics or environment alone, but I reveal to you a sacred science far deeper. The vibrational field of your karma surrounds you like a magnetic aura, And into that field are drawn souls whose own karmic lessons resonate with yours. It is not a punishment but a divine design, a chance for both parent and child to work out unresolved debts and to help one another climb the spiritual ladder toward freedom. Know this and feel the weight of responsibility, yes, but also the light of divine opportunity. For this bond, though karmic in nature, is also the golden thread through which God's redeeming love may flow, lifting not only you, but generations yet to come. Child and parent meet not first in the physical realm, but in the subtle corridors of spirit long before conception, long before the first heartbeat is heard. Souls preparing for another earthly sojourn are drawn into fields of vibration perfectly suited to their next set of lessons. Just as a seed is carried by the wind to the soil most suited for its growth, so too the soul is guided by the winds of karma and divine intelligence into the womb of a particular mother, into the care of a particular father, to experience exactly what is needed for its evolution. You must not think that souls are helpless or forced into families without purpose. No, in the great celestial schools between incarnations, guided by angels and divine masters, each soul glimpses its next birth and understands the lessons awaiting. Often, there are promises made across lifetimes. A mother who cared for a soul in a past life may receive that soul as her child in the next. A father who neglected spiritual duty toward another may be given a second chance to guide that same soul now reborn. This is why you must see your child not as a possession or as a clay figure for you to mold in the image of your ambitions. Rather, you must see them as a sacred traveler, a divine pilgrim who has chosen to walk a part of their path beside you, even through you, in order that both of your souls may advance together. There is no randomness in this divine choreography. God Himself arranges these spiritual meetings, ensuring that no lesson is missed, no act of love is forgotten, no wrong goes without opportunity for redemption. When you look into the eyes of your child, you are looking into the face of eternity, meeting again a companion from journeys unseen, now given to you so that through love, forgiveness, and spiritual striving, the karmic threads may be untangled and rewoven in light. Modern thinking tells you that a child inherits only your physical genes, and that the patterns of life successes, illnesses, tendencies of character are dictated solely by biology and by the environment you create in your home. This is only a fraction of the truth. The deeper inheritance, the silent transmission that passes unseen from you to your child, is the vibrational imprint of your own karma. Thoughts are living energies. Emotions are waves of subtle power. Every action you take, every pattern of desire or fear you cultivate, sends out invisible ripples into the astral realms. The soul of your child, long before entering your womb or taking its first breath, feels those ripples and is drawn or repelled by them, according to the spiritual contract both of you have entered. Even during pregnancy, your moods, your prayers or lack of prayer, your serenity or anxiety imprint upon the unborn child's subtle body. This influence is not deterministic. Each soul carries its own karma, but like a musician playing alongside another, your notes intermingle, harmonizing or clashing according to divine law. Thus, what you call family traits are often karmic resonances, not just physical heredity. Understand this and you will awaken from Maya's illusion that you are merely raising a biological child. Instead, you are holding a mirror to your own unresolved energies and being given a holy chance to transform them into light. If you choose not to change, those karmic vibrations may echo in your child's experiences. But if you purify your thoughts, if you uplift your consciousness towards spirit, that too will silently uplift your child, sometimes without a word being spoken. Beloved soul, let us now enter more deeply into the subtle mystery of how karma truly flows from parent to child, not as a visible chain forged by iron links, but as a delicate web of vibration, unseen yet more binding than anything the physical senses can perceive. Karma is not a record kept in books of heaven, nor is it a mechanical tally of deeds awaiting judgment. It is a living resonance, a magnetic field born of every thought you think, every emotion you allow to grow unchecked, every action that moves outward into creation. This vibration settles into your astral body, the luminous sheath that surrounds and permeates your physical form, and from there it radiates into the unseen currents that bind all souls in this cosmic drama. When a child is drawn into your life, it is not simply because biology aligned or circumstances made room for theme. It is because the subtle resonance of your karma and theirs began to sing the same note, attracting one another like two flames drawn together by a single breeze. This vibrational exchange does not begin at conception alone. It has roots in past incarnations where promises were made, bonds of love or strife were formed, and debts of kindness or pain were left unresolved. These bonds do not dissolve with the death of the body. They ripple forward, calling souls back into relationship, sometimes reversing roles. What was once a father may return as a son. What was once a rival may return as a daughter. What was once a dependent may now come to guide you. And so, even before birth, the child's astral essence is already mingling with yours, drawn not only to the womb but to the spiritual atmosphere you carry. Every unresolved sorrow you have not offered up to God, every resentment still clutched, every unfulfilled longing or unexamined fear creates subtle vibrations that the incoming soul feels as familiar. Whether harmonious or heavy, these vibrations are part of the curriculum they have chosen, the schoolhouse of divine lessons they must attend beside you. Yet understand this well. This karmic bond is not only a chain of limitation, it can also become a bridge of liberation. Just as negative vibrations may entangle, elevated vibrations may free. When you meditate, pray, practice forgiveness, and surrender your ego to divine will, your astral body changes. It brightens, softens, magnetizes itself with higher frequencies of love and wisdom. These refined vibrations also radiate into your child's field, shaping not only their subconscious tendencies, but their very opportunities for spiritual awakening. Think of it like two tuning forks. If one is struck and vibrates at a high, pure pitch, the other begins to resonate at the same note without ever being touched. So it is with karma between parent and child. Your inner transformation silently awakens their inner potential, freeing both souls from old patterns and opening the door to new possibilities that neither might have reached alone. Karma may have drawn your child to you for unfinished lessons, but divine grace allows that those lessons need not repeat the pain of the past. Instead, through vibrational upliftment, you can teach not only with words but with your very presence that freedom is possible, that the chains of old mistakes can be melted in the fire of love, that even lifetimes of entanglement can be unwoven through spiritual effort. This is the sacred responsibility and the sacred gift, that every time you lift your thoughts to God, you lift not only yourself but also the soul of your child who has entered your karmic sphere. And every time you resist this upward pull, every time you give in to anger, despair, or ego-driven striving, you do not only bear that burden alone, you send ripples into the soul of your child. Thus, the highest act of love a parent can offer is not merely protection or worldly success, but self-purification, the steady, conscious elevation of one's vibration, until it sings only the music of spirit. Now, dear soul, having seen how vibration draws souls together long before birth, let us enter a deeper, even more intimate mystery, sacred bridge between the astral and the physical realms, and how this bridge becomes the channel through which karma imprints itself upon the life of your child. The material world is but the gross shadow of subtler worlds, and behind every physical form, there is an astral counterpart shaping, guiding, and sustaining it. The body of a child does not merely form from cells and genetic instructions. It takes shape according to patterns woven in the astral body, which itself is shaped by past experiences, unresolved energies, and the magnetic field of karmic tendencies carried from life to life. When a soul approaches birth, guided by divine law and its own evolutionary needs, it is enveloped by the luminous field of the parent's astral energies. The mother's emotional atmosphere, her inner peace or turmoil, her unspoken fears or soaring faith, all these are not locked inside her mind but radiate outward like unseen waves, merging with the forming astral body of the child. The father, too, contributes not only through the physical spark of life but through the strength or frailty of his thoughts, his hidden resentments or unshakable devotion. which silently color the astral canvas upon which the incoming soul begins to paint its new story. Though unseen, these energies are real and potent. They become the subtle clay from which destiny is molded long before a first cry breaks the air. Science may trace physical heredity through DNA, but divine wisdom knows that heredity is also vibrational. Just as a musician may inherit not only the hands of a pianist, but the very passion for music from generations past, so too does the soul inherit fields of influence, born not only of physical matter, but of astral imprints passed down through thought and feeling. This is why families often share unseen burdens or blessings. What appears as mere coincidence is truly the resonance of astral threads linking their lives. A parent's recurring sorrow can echo in a child's unexplained melancholy. A parent's faith and devotion can awaken a natural inclination toward divine love in their offspring. This is not mechanical transfer, but the sacred dance of energy between souls bound by karmic ties and divine intention. Yogananda often taught that even before birth, a mother should meditate and pray, inviting divine light to flow through her as a river of peace into the forming life within. Such holy practices refine her own astral field, and like sunlight through stained glass, color the child's subtle body with vibrations of serenity, strength, and spiritual receptivity. A home where God's name is sung, where thoughts are steeped in forgiveness and gratitude, creates not only a wholesome environment for the physical child, but a luminous temple for the astral soul taking root there. And know this well: when parents unite their will with spirit, praying together, serving together, seeking God sincerely, the karmic bonds that might have otherwise weighed down the lineage are gradually dissolved. The child still walks their own soul path, but the path is cleared of many hidden thorns, replaced with stepping stones of divine blessing that allow both parent and child to ascend toward freedom. So understand, beloved, your physical care for your child, feeding, protecting, nurturing, is holy indeed, but even more sacred is the unseen shaping of their astral being through your own vibrations. Every moment of self-purification, every act of silent prayer, every breath surrendered to divine light becomes a spiritual inheritance more enduring than wealth or titles. And when you realize this, parenting becomes not a worldly task but a form of spiritual ministry where every thought is an offering on the altar of the soul entrusted to your keeping, and every rise in your consciousness lifts not only you, but also the little one God has placed in your care. Beloved, now that you have understood how the unseen currents of karma draw souls together and how the astral field of the parent silently weaves its threads into the child's destiny, we must speak of something even more profound, something that brings both comfort and solemn responsibility. Though your vibrations shape the environment, your child has not come as a helpless victim of inherited karma, nor as an accidental recipient of burdens they did not choose. No, in the vast orchestration of divine justice, every soul enters this life with the clear though hidden memory of lessons yet to be learned, bonds yet to be mended, love yet to be given. And it is for this reason that your child has chosen you, not only to receive your guidance, but to hold a mirror to your own soul's unfinished journey, offering you, too, a chance for growth and liberation. From the celestial halls of light where souls prepare for reincarnation, your child beheld you, not your flaws, not your human errors, but your deeper essence, the qualities of heart and spirit that could best help them resolve their karmic knots and fulfill their divine purpose. The threads of past incarnations bound you together long before this earthly meeting, and perhaps you walked together in lifetimes where roles were reversed. What was once parent may now be child. What was once a rival may now return as a companion in your household. Each relationship is not happenstance but a divine appointment, a spiritual contract woven by God's wisdom to provide every soul the exact experiences it needs for upward evolution. This is why, when challenges arise between parent and child, conflicts of will, echoes of pain, inexplicable tensions, you must not see them merely as personality clashes or parental failings. They are karmic lessons playing out through the drama of this life, opportunities for both souls to forgive where once they clung to hurt, to love where once they withdrew, to guide where once they misled. When a child suffers or faces trials you wish you could shield them from, remember this truth: Their soul has chosen these tests, not for cruelty's sake, but to awaken latent strength, to refine understanding, to burn away old limitations in the purifying fire of experience. Even the hardships they encounter under your roof are part of the curriculum they willingly embrace before birth. And so, while you cannot erase the lessons they have come to learn, you can transform the quality of those lessons by living in divine consciousness yourself. If anger was the karmic tie between you, offer them the vibration of patience. If abandonment shadowed your past lives together, fill this incarnation with unwavering presence and love. If misunderstanding once drove you apart, open channels of listening and spiritual friendship. In this way, the karma that brought you together becomes not a chain of sorrow but a bridge of grace, allowing both of you to transcend old patterns and step closer to the eternal freedom for which your souls hunger. You see now that the role of parent is not one of ownership or control. It is an honor bestowed by God Himself, a sacred invitation to serve as guide and companion to a traveling soul who trusts you enough to share this intimate journey. When you look into your child's eyes, do not see merely youth or innocence. See the ancient, wise traveler walking beside you once more, both of you pilgrims on the same timeless path back to the infinite. My beloved, now that you know your child's soul has chosen you deliberately, not by chance or accident, it is time to lay aside the old illusion that you own your child, or that they are merely an extension of your body, your ambitions, or your unfulfilled dreams. A parent is not a sculptor shaping lifeless clay, bending it to his vision of perfection. A parent is a sacred guide entrusted with a radiant, eternal soul loan that has walked through many worlds, worn many bodies, tasted joy and sorrow through countless ages, and has now come to you to walk a little further on its long pilgrimage back to God. You must understand that your task is not to create them in your image, nor to bind them with the heavy chains of worldly expectation, but to shepherd their spirit gently, to nurture the divine spark within them, to remind them of their forgotten divinity. Many parents believe that they must protect their children from all suffering, from every challenge and hardship, thinking this is love. But true love does not suffocate the soul's journey. True love lifts, strengthens, and inspires it to rise higher. Even as you guide their steps, you must not hold their wings, for a child is not born to live your unfinished dreams, but to unfold the dreams God has whispered in their own immortal heart. Yogananda taught that spiritual friendship is the highest form of relationship, even between parent and child. What does this mean? It means walking beside them as a companion of the soul, not standing above them as a ruler. It means teaching them not only with rules and words, but with the silent magnetism of your own devotion to truth. When you meditate, when you surrender anger to peace, when you exchange fear for faith, you are not only uplifting yourself, you are silently guiding your child more powerfully than 1,000 spoken lectures could ever do. Spiritual guidance flows not by command but by example. And when your child sees you living as a radiant, balanced, God-attuned being, something stirs in their own consciousness, remembering, a longing to live in that same light. Release the thought, then, that you can control their destiny. You cannot live their karma for them, nor should you try. You can only bless it, guide it, and purify the atmosphere in which they walk their unique path. The gardener cannot command the rose to become a lily, nor the lily to bloom as the oak tree does. Yet the gardener can clear the weeds, provide water and sunlight, nourish the soil with loving hands. So too is your sacred role, to clear the karmic weeds of negativity from your lineage, to shower divine light upon your home, to water your child's soul with prayer and the living example of spiritual living, until they feel free to grow upward toward the same Son of God that calls you both homeward. Every day, remind yourself in silent prayer, Beloved Divine Mother, I do not own this child. I do not shape their soul. They are thine. Guide me that I may guide them. Speak through me that I may speak to them. Let every touch be thy blessing, every word thy wisdom, every gaze thy love. When you offer your parenting to God in this way, when you become not a master but a servant of spirit, you will discover that the bond between you and your child deepens beyond human attachment. It becomes a spiritual alliance, a holy companionship that uplifts both of your souls and frees you from the heavy burden of control and fear. Beloved soul, having understood that you are a guide and not an owner of your child's destiny, it is now time to uncover the secret key to transforming not only your own karma, but also the unseen currents flowing silently through your lineage: self-purification. So many parents labor tirelessly to give their children the best of the material world: education, opportunities, comforts, but neglect the greater gift, the invisible inheritance of spiritual vibration that no earthly wealth can match. The subtle field of energy you carry, shaped by every thought you think, every emotion you nurture, every hidden grief or resentment you hold, is the atmosphere your child breathes even more deeply than the physical air. And so, the highest service you can offer to your children and to generations yet unborn is to cleanse and uplift this inner vibration until it radiates only peace, only clarity, only God's light. Do not fear this cleansing, for it is not harsh penance or endless self-condemnation. True purification is a joyful return to your own divine essence. Begin each day not with hurried demands of the world, but with stillness, with breath aligned to spirit, with your gaze gently lifted to the spiritual eye, as you silently offer yourself to the infinite. In meditation, visualize the heavy stones of past mistakes, old patterns of anger, fear, or attachment being lifted one by one from your astral spine by the hands of Divine Mother, until you feel lighter, freer, radiant with a peace no world can shake. As you practice, silently affirm, "Beloved Spirit, through thy grace alone my karma is dissolved. Through thy light alone my soul is cleansed. Through thy love alone my lineage is set free." In daily life, watch your reactions with calm detachment. When anger begins to rise, pause, breathe, offer it silently into the fire of God's peace. When fear whispers of scarcity or failure, lift your heart into divine trust. When old habits threaten to repeat themselves, remember that you are not a prisoner of the past. You are a soul awakening in the eternal present. Each such act of conscious transformation does not end with you alone. Its vibrations ripple outward into your home, touching your child's aura, cleansing karmic patterns that may have bound your family for centuries. A single moment of genuine forgiveness, a single prayer offered in deep humility, a single act of courage to respond with love instead of resentment can shatter ancestral chains and open unseen doors of grace for those who walk beside you, and even those who came before. Live also by noble ideals. Let honesty, kindness, and simplicity shape the tone of your household, for these high vibrations magnetically lift every soul who enters. Speak often of God's love, not as doctrine, but as living presence, and let your children see in your eyes the serenity of a soul rooted in spirit. Practice selfless service, sharing not only with your family but with all who cross your path. For each act of generosity gathers divine blessings that silently wash away old karmic debts. Remember that no prayer is ever wasted, no meditation unheard, no tear of sincere longing unseen by the Eternal. Thus, by purifying yourself, you become a lighthouse for your children, a radiant being through whom divine magnetism flows freely, guiding them safely through karmic storms toward the calm shores of spiritual freedom. This is how karma is transcended, not by running from it or fearing its weight, but by transforming its vibration through God's grace, until nothing remains to bind your soul or theirs. Beloved soul, as you rise in consciousness and begin purifying your own karmic field, you will find that your very presence becomes a sanctuary for your child, a silent fortress of light surrounding them more powerfully than any physical wall could. This is the divine mystery of spiritual magnetism. It cannot be seen with the human eye, yet it shapes destiny more deeply than any spoken word or material action. When you live in attunement with spirit, your aura becomes a shield of divine vibration through which negative karmic influences cannot easily pass. Even unseen dangers, astral disharmonies, and karmic storms may be softened or redirected by the luminous energy emanating from a parent anchored in God's love and protection. You must understand that protection does not mean preventing every trial or hardship your child might face. Souls incarnate with lessons they have chosen, experiences they must encounter to awaken hidden strengths. True protection is spiritual. It is holding them in the light of divine remembrance, so that, whatever lessons life brings, they never lose connection with the truth of their own soul. This protection begins in the silent hours of prayer and meditation. When your child sleeps, place your hand gently on their head or hold them softly in your heart and inwardly whisper to Divine Mother, "Bless this soul, purify this karma, guide this little one always toward thy light." Know that every such prayer creates ripples in the astral worlds, strengthening the unseen guardians who watch over your child and weaving threads of grace that will guide them even when you are not near. Throughout the day, too, you can silently project blessings without uttering a word. When you see your child struggling, pause before you react outwardly. Close your eyes inwardly, lift your gaze to the spiritual eye, and silently offer a thought of strength, of courage, of divine wisdom for them. Your vibrations, refined through spiritual practice, will reach them like a gentle breeze, calming a stormy sea. The karmic lessons they must face will not vanish, but your silent blessing can lighten their weight, turning obstacles into stepping stones of wisdom, turning suffering into deeper compassion. This is not theory. It is a living law of consciousness. Introduce your child, in natural and joyful ways, to spiritual practices. Let them see you meditate, pray, and speak often of God as a living friend. Share with them simple chants or affirmations, not as rigid rituals but as playful invitations to touch divine joy. Even the smallest seed of spiritual habit planted in youth can blossom later into powerful protection when life's karmic winds blow strong. And remember always that divine love flows more powerfully than any karmic pattern. When you hold your child not with attachment or control, but with the infinite love of spirit shining through you, you create a bond of light stronger than lifetimes of bondage, a bond that will help guide both of your souls toward liberation. In this way, blessing your child is not a single act, but a way of being. Your purified thoughts, your silent prayers, your loving actions all create a spiritual inheritance far greater than worldly wealth. Through you, divine grace begins to rewrite not only your own karmic story, but the karmic destiny of your entire lineage, preparing the soul of your child to one day awaken fully into their own divine remembrance and freedom. Beloved, we have journeyed far into the hidden truth of karmic bonds, seeing how souls are drawn together, how vibrations imprint silently across generations, and how divine grace can purify and uplift not only you but your child and all who came before. Now we arrive at the sacred culmination of this message. Karma is not an eternal prison. It is a temporary dream, woven to teach, to awaken, to guide you toward the remembrance of your true nature as a child of God. And when one soul in a family truly awakens, when one heart surrenders wholly to Spirit, the light of that realization ripples outward beyond time and space, dissolving karmic patterns that may have bound entire lineages for centuries. This is not poetry but divine law. When you unite with God, you do not walk alone into freedom. You lift countless souls with you, including your child, your ancestors, and even those yet to be born. This is why your highest duty as a parent is not only to provide food, shelter, or worldly success, but to seek union with the eternal. In meditation, in prayer, in selfless service, strive every day to step out of ego consciousness and into the vast silence of spirit. Each breath that carries you upward through the astral spine is not only cleansing your own karma, it is opening channels of grace through which divine light can flow into your home, into your children, into the very fabric of your lineage. When you pray not just for yourself, but for your ancestors and descendants, when you bless them with each exhalation, envisioning divine light healing every wound of the past, you become a bridge of mercy between earth and heaven. Now, sit with me in stillness for a moment. Close your eyes, straighten your spine, and take a long, slow breath. As you inhale, silently affirm, "I receive thy light." Hold the breath gently, feeling divine grace filling every cell, every memory of pain or regret in your being. As you exhale, silently affirm, I bless my child, my family, my lineage with this light. Imagine waves of golden radiance flowing upward through you and outward into generations past and future, dissolving shadows, healing wounds, freeing every soul connected to yours from unseen chains. Repeat this until you feel peace blooming in your heart like a quiet sunrise. And now let this affirmation settle deep into your soul. I am not bound by past actions. Through God's light, my lineage is set free. I bless my child with eternal spirit. I live no longer in ignorance, but in divine remembrance. From this day forward, walk with the calm, knowing that your every upward step toward God is a step taken also for your child. When you rise above old tendencies, you silently teach them how to rise. When you live in light, you give them the courage to shine. When you remember your eternal self, you awaken the same truth within them. This is the unspoken promise of the Masters. One soul illumined becomes a torchbearer for many, and a parent illumined can liberate countless lives beyond their own. Beloved soul, as you hold your child in your arms, as you watch their tiny hands grasp your own, as you see their innocent eyes reflecting the mysteries of life, you may think that this is the first meeting between you, that they have come to you as a blank page, ready to be written upon by your guidance and care. The world tells you this is how it is, that birth is a beginning, that life begins fresh, unshaped by unseen histories. But in the stillness of divine wisdom, in the unbroken vision of spirit, another truth is revealed on that may shake you at first, yet will liberate you once you understand its cosmic design. You have known this soul before. The one you now call your child has walked beside you through ages past, across lifetimes long, forgotten to the waking mind, but etched forever in the memory of your eternal spirit. They have laughed with you, wept with you, stood as your ally, or even as your adversary in the great school of life. And now, guided by the law of divine justice, this soul has returned not by chance, not by mere biology, but because the threads of karma have drawn you together once more, weaving your destinies into the same tapestry of growth and redemption. Paramahansa Yogananda taught that nothing in this universe is accidental, least of all the intimate bonds of family. A child does not appear randomly in your home. They are magnetically drawn to you by the energy you have carried through countless incarnations. Every thought you have nurtured, every action you have taken, every unhealed wound and every noble deed has shaped a field of vibration around your soul. This field, unseen yet potent, is what determines who is drawn into your life and why. When a child is born to you, it is because their soul resonates with yours. They are tied to your karmic song, responding to a melody that began long before this life began. This is a truth rarely spoken, for the modern mind clings to the illusion of separateness, imagining that each birth is a new beginning, untouched by the past. But the masters of yoga see differently. With spiritual sight, they behold the luminous threads of cause and effect stretching across lifetimes, binding souls together in divine lessons of love, forgiveness, and awakening. And so I tell you, when you look into the face of your child, you are not merely seeing a future shaped by your guidance, you are beholding a soul carrying the echoes of your shared history, a traveler walking once more beside you on the long road back to God. Take a moment to let this truth settle in your heart. Breathe deeply and sense that your connection to your child is more ancient than time itself. Feel the weight of lifetimes where promises were made and broken, where acts of kindness and moments of pain were exchanged, where lessons were left unfinished, waiting for another chance. This life is that chance. This moment, this family, is the divine stage upon which old karmic patterns may finally be transformed into light. Beloved one, as we journey deeper into this sacred revelation, do not fear the thought that your child carries your past life karma. This is not a burden meant to crush you. It is a gift from Spirit, an opportunity for redemption that only divine wisdom could arrange. When understood, this truth does not bind you in guilt or sorrow. It opens the door to profound healing, to generational liberation, and to the discovery of love that transcends lifetimes. Beloved soul, having now glimpsed the eternal bond that ties you to your children, let us journey into the deeper currents of karma itself. For without understanding this cosmic law, the tapestry of your family's story remains shrouded in mystery. Karma is not a word to fear, nor a concept to dismiss as superstition. It is the most intimate truth of your own being, the silent architect shaping every experience, every relationship, every seeming coincidence of your life. To know karma is to understand why your soul and the soul of your child have met again upon this earthly stage. Karma, as taught by the sages, is not a sentence handed down by an unforgiving universe, nor a punishment inflicted by some distant deity. It is simply the law of cause and effect working upon the plane of consciousness. Every thought you have ever cherished, every word spoken, every action performed has left an imprint upon your soul. Like pebbles thrown into a still pond, they create ripples that move outward into the vast ocean of existence, eventually returning to the one who cast them. These ripples do not vanish when a lifetime ends. They travel with you, weaving patterns that guide the journey of your spirit from incarnation to incarnation. In the eternal flow of life, nothing is truly forgotten. The kindness you showed to a stranger 1,000 years ago still glows as light upon your soul. The harm you caused another, whether by anger or ignorance, still seeks resolution in the divine harmony of cosmic justice. And because the universe is merciful as well as just, it draws together those souls who have unfinished lessons to learn, giving them new opportunities to heal, to forgive, to love where once they wounded. This is why families are not random collections of souls. The invisible law of karma gathers souls into intimate relationships where their past interactions can be balanced and purified. Sometimes those who were parents in one life return as children in another. Sometimes a friend becomes a sibling, or an enemy returns as a child entrusted to your care. These changes of role are not meant to confuse, but to teach, for through such reversals, the soul is given fresh chances to see from new perspectives, to grow in wisdom and compassion. Imagine, beloved, a long journey through many lands where you travel with companions, sometimes walking ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes leading, sometimes following. Across the ages, you share burdens, you argue, you reconcile, you discover joys and sorrows together. When you rest for a time, you may think the journey is over, but soon the path calls you forward again. And once more, you meet the same souls upon the road, not because you planned it, but because the bonds of shared experience draw you inevitably together, lifetime after lifetime, until every lesson has been learned and every wound transformed into light. Thus, when your child is born into your home, it is not merely a new chapter of life, it is a continuation of an ancient saga written in the ink of karma. Their tendencies, their challenges, even the struggles that may arise between you, are not random misfortunes, but the unfolding of divine justice, offering both of you the chance to rise higher than before. This is not a chain to imprison you. It is a ladder to heaven, and with every act of understanding, forgiveness, and spiritual awakening, you climb together toward divine freedom. Breathe deeply now and allow this truth to settle in your heart. Feel the comfort in knowing that nothing that happens between you and your child is meaningless. The very energy that bound you in past lives has returned, not to torment you, but to guide you closer to the infinite. Karma is not the enemy of love, it is the workshop in which love is refined and perfected through the alchemy of lifetimes. Beloved soul, now that we have begun to understand the law of karma and its unbroken thread through countless incarnations, let us journey to the luminous halls of spirit where souls gather before each earthly birth. For what happens before conception is far more profound than what the physical senses can perceive. In those higher planes of divine light, where memory stretches beyond mortal limitation, souls meet, guided by angels and masters, to prepare for the next chapter of their eternal journey. In this sacred realm, your child's soul did not drift aimlessly waiting for a random family to receive them. No, there is divine precision and intention in every birth. Before they ever took on flesh and bone, your child's soul saw you. Beloved, one, not your outward appearance, but your eternal essence, the vibration of your heart, the unresolved lessons and luminous qualities of your spirit. They recognized in you a companion with whom they had traveled through lifetimes. And in the silent, wordless language of the soul, a sacred agreement was made. I will come to you again. We will walk this part of the journey together. Through our bond, we will both grow nearer to freedom. These agreements are not forced by any cosmic authority. They are chosen, embraced willingly in the presence of divine wisdom. For the soul knows that only through such bonds can unfinished karma be redeemed and higher virtues awakened. Perhaps in a past life you failed to protect this soul, and now they come as your child to give you another chance to love with unwavering courage. Perhaps you wronged them in anger long ago, and now they return not for vengeance but to heal that wound through forgiveness and grace. Perhaps you both shared great love before, but certain lessons remained unlearned, and so you are drawn together once more to complete the tapestry of divine friendship. In these celestial realms, the masters guide souls like compassionate teachers, helping them select the circumstances, the family, even the challenges that will most perfectly lead to spiritual evolution. This is why Yogananda said, "The drama of your life has been perfectly planned." There is no accident in the home you were born into, nor in the souls entrusted to you as children. It is divine choreography, a cosmic school where parent and child are not simply blood relations but ancient travelers refining wisdom side by side. When you look upon your child in this life, you are seeing only the current role they play in this vast spiritual drama. But in truth, you have known each other in many forms, as friends walking hand in hand, as adversaries locked in conflict, as lovers sharing devotion, as teacher and student guiding each other toward higher understanding. Now, by divine choice, they return as your child, not merely to depend upon you for sustenance and shelter, but to hold a mirror before your soul, showing you the vibrations you still carry, the lessons yet to be learned, and the opportunities for love that must now blossom into their highest expression. Think of this with awe and reverence. Before you held them in your arms, before you first heard their cry, there was already a silent promise forged in divine light, a promise that you would walk together again, not for earthly gain alone, but to help each other return to the infinite embrace of God. When you feel the weight of parenting, remember this higher truth. You are not simply raising a child. You are honoring a sacred contract written not in ink, but in the eternal radiance of the soul. Beloved soul, having glimpsed the heavenly councils where parent and child meet before birth, let us now descend gently to the moment when a soul prepares to enter earthly existence. As the curtain of flesh is woven around the eternal spirit, there begins a subtle and profound transmission, not merely of genetic traits or physical resemblance, but of karmic vibrations that reach far deeper than any mortal science can measure. When a parent has walked through many lifetimes, each experience, each choice, and each hidden thought leaves behind not only memory but a vibrational imprint upon the astral body. This astral body, a luminous sheath of light surrounding and permeating the physical frame, is the storehouse of karma, carrying the echoes of past deeds into every new birth. These vibrations radiate outward like a magnetic field, silently shaping the spiritual environment into which a child is conceived and nurtured. At the moment of conception, it is not random biology that unites sperm and ovum. It is the magnetism of karma that draws a particular soul into alignment with the parents whose vibrations most closely match its own karmic needs. As Yogananda often taught, the unseen law of cosmic justice guides souls into families where they can reap what they have sown and learn what they must know. Thus, a child may carry not only their own past karma, but also intertwine with the unredeemed or elevated energies of the parents' past lives. This transmission is not mechanical but vibrational. Imagine a harp. If one string is plucked, nearby strings vibrate in sympathy with the same note. So it is with souls bound by karma. The unresolved energies of the parent resonate with similar patterns in the incoming child's soul. The lessons left unlearned in one generation often reappear in the next, not as a curse, but as divine mercy offering another opportunity to heal what was once broken. Even during pregnancy, this vibrational exchange continues. The mother's thoughts, emotions, and spiritual practices subtly shape the child's developing astral body. Joy, prayer, and meditation can infuse the unborn soul with serenity and strength, while prolonged anxiety or anger can pass along tendencies the child must later overcome. The father, too, contributes silently not only through physical seed but through the energy of his consciousness, which envelops the home like an invisible aura, influencing the spiritual atmosphere in which the child's soul nestles before birth. Understand this deeply. While a child has its own individual karma accumulated over lifetimes, It also mirrors and carries aspects of the parent's unresolved karma, not to suffer needlessly, but to bring to light that which must be transformed. In this way, the family becomes a karmic crucible, a sacred alchemy where generations refine one another, each life helping to cleanse the karmic fields of the other. This is why patterns of behavior, repeated misfortunes, and even certain illnesses can be seen running through ancestral lines. They are not solely hereditary in a physical sense, but are echoes of shared karmic vibrations seeking release. When you recognize these patterns in your child, do not despair. See instead the silent work of spirit using your family bond to purify the soul, turning old shadows into light through love, patience, and spiritual striving. Beloved, when you cradle your child or guide their steps, remember that you hold not just a young life but an ancient soul, interwoven with your own karmic journey. Together, you have been drawn into this life not to repeat past mistakes blindly but to rise above them. And each act of forgiveness, each moment of divine remembrance you share, dissolves lifetimes of bondage, freeing not only you and your child but also your ancestors and generations yet to come. Beloved soul, now that you see how past life karma silently flows into the lives of children, let us look even deeper into the mysterious way this transmission echoes across time. Families often witness recurring challenges cycles of suffering, habits that seem inherited, blessings or burdens that reappear like shadows following the light. Modern minds attribute these repetitions to genetics, environment, or mere coincidence. But to the spiritual eye awakened in divine truth, these patterns are not accidental. They are the vibrational echoes of generational karma, resonating through lifetimes until finally resolved. Think of your lineage as a river flowing across centuries. Every action, thought, and unhealed wound of your ancestors is like a stone dropped into this river, sending ripples that travel far beyond the moment of impact. These ripples reach you now, shaping parts of your life before you even drew your first breath. And when you act unconsciously, unaware of these karmic currents, you too drop stones into the river, creating ripples that will touch your children and their children. Thus, a chain of vibrational influence stretches backward and forward, unseen yet powerfully real, binding souls together in lessons that span generations. This is why we see repeating family dramas, anger that flares in each generation like a torch passed from father to son, patterns of loss or betrayal revisiting the lives of descendants, struggles with health or poverty haunting a lineage. These are not punishments from above, but unfinished karmic melodies playing again and again until a soul awakens to change the tune. Just as a song will repeat a refrain until the harmony is resolved, karma repeats lessons until divine wisdom silences the disharmony with light and forgiveness. Yet understand this, generational karma is not only negative. Blessings, too, are passed through the invisible streams of consciousness. A saintly ancestor's prayers may protect descendants for centuries, unseen but potent like sunlight filtering through leaves long after the tree has fallen. Acts of courage, mercy, and devotion ripple forward, magnetizing souls yet to be born, drawing them into spiritual families where their divine potential can blossom. Yogananda taught that ancestral karma is carried not only through physical inheritance but through astral and causal vibrations, which are far subtler than anything the senses can detect. These vibrations are like unseen threads woven into the fabric of a soul's journey. When a child is born into a family, these threads bind them not as shackles, but as opportunities for collective evolution. Often, an advanced soul will willingly enter a lineage weighed down by heavy karma, not because they must, but because they seek to bring light where darkness has long lingered, redeeming many souls at once. Beloved, when you recognize the patterns in your family's story, do not think of them as chains you cannot escape. Think of them as divine messages, whispering, "Here is where healing is needed. Here is where forgiveness must blossom. Here is where love must replace fear." By facing these patterns consciously, by transforming old wounds into compassion, you become the sacred bridge that carries your lineage out of bondage and into freedom. And when you do this inner work, you do not uplift yourself alone, you alter the vibration of your entire ancestral river, bringing peace to souls long departed and light to children yet unborn. Pause now, take a breath, and silently affirm, through divine grace, the patterns of suffering in my family are transformed into blessings. I am a channel of freedom for my ancestors, my children, and generations to come. Beloved soul, now that we have walked through the truth of generational karma and how it echoes through family lines, let us open our eyes and hearts to recognize the subtle and sometimes startling ways in which your child may mirror your own unresolved karma. This is not meant to bring you guilt or fear. Rather, it is to awaken you to divine awareness so that you can meet these reflections with wisdom and grace. For when you recognize karma's face in your child, you gain the sacred opportunity to heal not only your own soul but also theirs. One of the first signs is the mirroring of emotional patterns. Perhaps you notice that your child carries the same fears, anxieties, or sadness that you yourself struggled with in youth. You may see in their reactions echoes of your own long-forgotten wounds of sensitivity to abandonment, a tendency toward anger, a reluctance to trust. These are not simply personality traits born of genetics or environment. They are vibrational resonances, drawn into your child's life, because those unhealed energies in you still hum quietly, calling forth their reflection in another soul who has karmically agreed to walk with you. Another sign is the repetition of life challenges. You may watch your child face obstacles that seem eerily similar to the ones you endured: failures in certain endeavors, strained relationships, repeated patterns of struggle or loss. These repetitions are not coincidences. They are the karmic blueprint unfolding before your eyes, inviting you both to respond differently this time, to rise higher than before. It is as if the universe is offering a second canvas, where you and your child together can repaint the story in brighter, freer colors. There are also times when instant recognition occurs at the soul level. The first moment you hold your child, you may feel you have known them forever, as though you are meeting an ancient companion rather than a newborn soul. This silent knowing is a clear whisper from Spirit that your souls have shared many journeys before, perhaps as parent and child, perhaps as friends or even adversaries. This life is the next chapter in that shared history, woven by divine intelligence to finally bring resolution and harmony. Sometimes, unresolved karma manifests in shared spiritual tests. You may notice that you and your child experience similar trials at the same stages of life: temptations, moral dilemmas, losses, or victories that mirror one another. In these moments, know that your souls are being tested not separately but together, bound by karmic threads that will only be cut by mutual growth and inner transformation. Beloved, do not fear these signs. See them as lanterns of divine mercy, illuminating the path of redemption. Your child's mirrored karma is not a curse upon them. It is a mirror held up to you by a soul who loves you enough to help you face what you might otherwise ignore. This is the mystery of divine compassion. Sometimes the souls we cherish most agree to bear part of our karmic weight, so that together we may ascend toward the light. When you witness these reflections, do not respond with judgment or despair. Instead, breathe deeply and pray, "Beloved Spirit, let my love uplift this soul. Let me face these patterns with courage and grace, so that both of us may be freed into thy divine light." In this prayer, transformation begins not only for you but for your child. For in the cosmic law of vibration, every upward step you take silently lifts them as well. Beloved soul, now that you understand how unresolved karma can mirror itself in the life of your child, let us turn our gaze to the higher truth. This bond between parent and child is not an entrapment, not a cosmic punishment chaining you together. It is a sacred instrument of divine mercy and evolution. It has been forged in the fires of past actions, not to wound you endlessly, but to give you both the perfect conditions to rise from ignorance into wisdom, from bondage into freedom, from human love into divine love. The purpose of this bond is not merely to create a family for survival or worldly companionship. Souls do not reunite across lifetimes simply to share mundane pleasures or repeat old patterns of suffering. No, beloved, in every karmic bond there is hidden a blueprint for redemption. The child who comes into your life, carrying echoes of your own karmic vibrations, is a messenger from the eternal Spirit, saying, "Now is the time. Together we shall heal what has remained broken. Together we shall untie the knots of the past and walk nearer to God." In many lifetimes, love between souls may have been wounded by misunderstanding, betrayal, or neglect. Yet divine justice never abandons those bonds. It brings souls back together in new roles, in fresh circumstances, giving both the chance to choose differently, to express love where there was once only fear, to forgive where anger reigned before. A child may return to a parent who once was their rival, offering a silent opportunity for reconciliation through unconditional nurturing. A parent may return as a child's guide to finally give the protection and wisdom denied long ago. This divine purpose extends beyond correcting mistakes. It is also about mutual elevation. Often, the soul of a child comes not merely to be raised but to raise the parent. Sometimes it is the child who awakens first to spiritual truths, becoming a teacher to the very parent who once thought themselves the guide. In this cosmic dance of roles, humility and wisdom grow, for each soul learns that true spiritual progress comes not from hierarchy or control, but from selfless service, mutual respect, and recognition of God within one another. Yogananda taught that no relationship is given by chance. Every bond is an opportunity for soul salvation. This is why masters see children not simply as dependents, but as sacred companions entrusted to them by God for spiritual partnership. When you see your child through this lens, the burdens of parenting begin to dissolve. What remains is reverence for the divine intelligence that placed this soul in your care, knowing that through every challenge, every tear, every joyful moment, both of you are being sculpted into instruments of higher love. Beloved, when confusion or frustration arises in your relationship with your child, pause and whisper inwardly, "This soul walks beside me for a reason beyond my knowing." Together, we are pilgrims on the path of liberation. Every moment we share is an opportunity to awaken to God's eternal love. Hold this awareness in your heart, and you will begin to see that even the struggles have meaning, that no act of kindness is wasted, and that through this sacred bond, Spirit is weaving a destiny brighter than any earthly plan could conceive. Beloved soul, now that we understand the divine purpose behind the karmic bond between parent and child, we must also face a sobering truth. Not all karma is resolved within a single lifetime. Though divine law gives us these opportunities to heal, to forgive, and to grow, the human will is free to resist or embrace this chance. If understanding does not dawn, if old patterns are repeated rather than transformed, karma will not vanish, it will continue its course, binding souls together across future incarnations until harmony is restored. Imagine, beloved, a great lesson written on a cosmic blackboard by the hand of divine wisdom. Each lifetime offers you the chance to study that lesson, to learn it fully so you may graduate to higher states of consciousness. But if, through ignorance or resistance, the lesson is ignored, it is not erased, it remains upon that board, patiently awaiting your return. Thus, parent and child may walk together for many lives, sometimes trading roles, until the vibrational discord is brought into divine harmony. This is why certain karmic patterns can feel relentless. A parent may experience the same type of conflict with multiple children across different lifetimes, or a child may repeatedly be drawn to parents whose unresolved energies mirror their own unhealed wounds. Divine law is neither cruel nor accidental. In this, it is mercifully persistent, ensuring that no soul remains in darkness forever, but is continually offered new chances to awaken into light. When karma is not resolved, it can manifest as recurring conflicts or estrangement. A child may rebel fiercely against a parent, repeating unresolved struggles of control and misunderstanding from past lives. A parent may harbor unhealed resentment toward their child without knowing why, as though invisible chains bind them to old grievances they cannot name. These tensions are not meaningless. They are karmic signals, guiding both souls to address the roots of suffering, not merely its symptoms. There are also more subtle forms of unresolved karma. Sometimes a parent and child may have a seemingly peaceful relationship outwardly, but carry silent emotional distances or unspoken fears that echo past betrayals or losses. These quiet barriers must be healed through conscious love and spiritual effort. For if ignored, they may resurface in future incarnations, demanding deeper attention. Beloved, it is crucial to understand this, not with despair but with hope. Karma is not eternal bondage. It is divine instruction patiently teaching you the way to freedom. Every challenge that remains unresolved will return, not to punish, but to offer again the sacred chance to choose love over fear, forgiveness over anger, understanding over ignorance. When you sense unresolved karma with your child, do not turn away or harden your heart. Instead, bow inwardly before the divine and pray, "Beloved Spirit, guide us to break these chains not with pain, but with compassion. Teach us to rise above these old patterns now, so that in future lives we may walk together not in bondage, but in thy radiant freedom." Know this truth. The moment sincere understanding dawns, the karmic knot begins to loosen. A single act of heartfelt forgiveness, a single realization of divine unity can dissolve lifetimes of entanglement. Such is the power of spiritual awakening. It does not merely pause the wheel of karma, it transcends it entirely, lifting both souls into realms where no shadow of bondage remains. Beloved soul, having understood that unresolved karma can bind parent and child across lifetimes, let us now turn to the luminous truth. Karma can be transformed completely, eternally through divine love. This love is not merely human affection, which can waver or change with time. Divine love is the highest vibration of spirit flowing through the heart, a fire that purifies every karmic shadow and a light that dissolves every bond of suffering. When you allow this love to fill you, it does not matter how heavy the karmic weight may feel, nor how many lifetimes have been woven in patterns of pain. Divine love is stronger than any past action because it is not born of the ego, it is born of God Himself, who is the source of all justice and mercy. When you love your child not with possessiveness, not with fear or control, but with pure, selfless, God-attuned devotion, you become a living channel through which spirit reaches down and begins to rewrite the story of your souls. This transformation often begins quietly. It may start with a single moment where anger gives way to compassion, where judgment softens into understanding. In that moment, the karmic vibration that once bound you begins to shift. A pathway opens for healing that no earthly reasoning could achieve. You may not see it with your eyes, but in the subtle astral realms, ancient chains are falling away, replaced by threads of light weaving new patterns of divine harmony. Yogananda taught that divine love is not only a feeling, but a vibration that permeates every atom of your being. When cultivated through meditation, prayer, and selfless acts of kindness, this love radiates outward silently, touching the consciousness of your child even if they are unaware of it. The soul responds instinctively to such high vibrations, rising like a flame drawn toward the sun. In this way, your own spiritual progress uplifts your child without spoken words, healing shared karmic wounds as naturally as spring sunlight melts the remnants of winter's snow. Acts of forgiveness are among the most powerful expressions of divine love. When you release old resentments, refusing to hold your child captive to their mistakes or to the echoes of past lifetimes, you unleash a wave of spiritual energy that travels beyond time and space, transforming not only your relationship in this life, but karmic entanglements stretching back through ages. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the highest strength because it aligns you with the mercy of the infinite. Service and sacrifice also become instruments of liberation. Every moment you choose to act for the good of your child without selfish motive, every time you place their spiritual welfare above fleeting desires or societal expectations, you are silently offering your karma at the altar of divine will. These acts are recorded not in human memory but in the eternal field of consciousness, where they act like seeds of light that grow into future lifetimes of freedom and joy. Beloved, do not think that transforming karma requires grand gestures or mystical powers. It requires only your willingness to love as God loves, patiently, purely, without condition. When you meditate daily, when you offer every thought and deed to Spirit, you become a vessel for this love. And in that vibration, past mistakes lose their hold, karmic debts are balanced, and both you and your child begin to walk a path illuminated by divine grace. Pause now and silently affirm, through God's love flowing through me, the karma of my lineage is healed. My child and I are lifted beyond old patterns into the eternal light of divine harmony. Beloved soul, having understood that unresolved karma can bind parent and child across lifetimes, let us now turn to the luminous truth. Karma can be transformed completely, eternally through divine love. This love is not merely human affection, which can waver or change with time. Divine love is the highest vibration of spirit flowing through the heart, a fire that purifies every karmic shadow and a light that dissolves every bond of suffering. When you allow this love to fill you, It does not matter how heavy the karmic weight may feel, nor how many lifetimes have been woven in patterns of pain. Divine love is stronger than any past action because it is not born of the ego. It is born of God Himself, who is the source of all justice and mercy. When you love your child not with possessiveness, not with fear or control, but with pure, selfless, God-attuned devotion, you become a living channel through which Spirit reaches down and begins to rewrite the story of your souls. This transformation often begins quietly. It may start with a single moment where anger gives way to compassion, where judgment softens into understanding. In that moment, the karmic vibration that once bound you begins to shift. A pathway opens for healing that no earthly reasoning could achieve. You may not see it with your eyes, but in the subtle astral realms, ancient chains are falling away, replaced by threads of light weaving new patterns of divine harmony. Yogananda taught that divine love is not only a feeling but a vibration that permeates every atom of your being. When cultivated through meditation, prayer, and selfless acts of kindness, this love radiates outward silently, touching the consciousness of your child even if they are unaware of it. The soul responds instinctively to such high vibrations, rising like a flame drawn toward the sun. In this way, your own spiritual progress uplifts your child without spoken words, healing shared karmic wounds as naturally as spring sunlight melts the remnants of winter snow. Acts of forgiveness are among the most powerful expressions of divine love. When you release old resentments, refusing to hold your child captive to their mistakes or to the echoes of past lifetimes, you unleash a wave of spiritual energy that travels beyond time and space, transforming not only your relationship in this life, but karmic entanglements stretching back through ages. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the highest strength because it aligns you with the mercy of the infinite. Service and sacrifice also become instruments of liberation. Every moment you choose to act for the good of your child without selfish motive, every time you place their spiritual welfare above fleeting desires or societal expectations, you are silently offering your karma at the altar of divine will. These acts are recorded not in human memory but in the eternal field of consciousness, where they act like seeds of light that grow into future lifetimes of freedom and joy. Beloved, do not think that transforming karma requires grand gestures or mystical powers. It requires only your willingness to love as God loves patiently, purely, without condition. When you meditate daily, when you offer every thought and deed to Spirit, you become a vessel for this love. And in that vibration, past mistakes lose their hold, karmic debts are balanced, and both you and your child begin to walk a path illuminated by divine grace. Pause now and silently affirm, through God's love flowing through me, the karma of my lineage is healed. My child and I are lifted beyond old patterns into the eternal light of divine harmony. Beloved soul, we have journeyed far together, tracing the sacred thread of karma as it weaves from lifetimes past into the tender bond between parent and child. We have seen how unresolved patterns resurface, how divine love transforms them, and how spiritual practice uplifts entire lineages. Now we come to the final revelation, the ultimate blessing of spiritual liberation, where both parent and child, once bound by karmic chains, rise together into the eternal freedom of divine light. Spiritual liberation, or moksha, is not simply the end of suffering. It is the complete remembrance of your true nature as an immortal soul, untouched by mistakes of the past, untouched even by the subtle laws of cause and effect. When a parent awakens to this realization, the vibration of their being shifts beyond the grasp of karma. No longer reacting from egoic patterns, they live in a state of divine surrender, channeling only love, wisdom, and joy. This state does not bless them alone, it silently liberates their children as well. Just as a lamp placed high upon a stand illuminates an entire room, one soul illumined by God casts rays of grace over countless others. Yogananda taught that the sincere spiritual advancement of even one family member can open heavenly doors for ancestors and descendants alike, dissolving karmic debts that would otherwise take lifetimes to balance. When a parent reaches such liberation, the karmic bond with their child is no longer a chain of necessity, but a bridge of divine friendship. No longer drawn together to repay debts or heal wounds, parent and child may still meet in future lives, but as souls walking freely side by side, serving God's will in joy and harmony. This is the highest destiny of family, to evolve from karmic entanglement into eternal spiritual companionship, where each soul rejoices not in ownership or duty, but in the shared remembrance of God. Even if full liberation has not yet been attained, every sincere step toward divine realization brings immense blessings. Through meditation, prayer, and conscious living, you lighten the karmic weight you and your child once carried. Lifetimes of suffering can be dissolved in moments of divine grace. Acts of forgiveness, moments of surrendered love, silent prayers, whispered in the night, all of these are seeds of liberation that blossom across generations, ensuring that no soul is left behind in the long journey home to spirit. Beloved, imagine for a moment a radiant future, you and your child standing together, no longer bound by fear or sorrow, but shining as liberated souls, joined not by earthly ties, but by divine freedom. Together, you rise into the infinite embrace of God, where no karma remains to separate or bind you. There, in the celestial garden of eternal light, you recognize one another not as parent or child, but as immortal companions of spirit, rejoicing forever in the bliss of divine oneness. This is the final blessing of family karma transformed, that what began as a cycle of repeated lessons and shared burdens becomes, through spiritual awakening, a path of mutual salvation. Through your devotion and courage, through every prayer and every act of selfless love, you are leading not only yourself but your children and all connected souls into this boundless freedom. Pause now and place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes and silently affirm, I am an immortal soul, free in spirit. My child and I are bound not by karma but by divine love. Together, we walk toward eternal freedom in God. Beloved, carry this truth into every moment of your life. Let it guide your words, soften your heart, and lift your consciousness. For as you rise, you lift others. As you awaken your child. And as you merge with the infinite, countless souls are drawn into that same ocean of light. This is the hidden, sacred purpose of the bond you share, a purpose that begins in karma but ends in everlasting liberation.